like, what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the doubt for? Live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given is a gift. If I'm a living, I'ma live it to death. So what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the doubt for? And live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given is a gift. If I'm a living, I'ma live it to death. Yeah.
All right. Welcome to the Master the Basics call. I'm excited to be here, be your host. There's some people on here. I don't recognize your name, so I'll go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Jamie Chirio. I've been with Family First Life now for in a couple of days, it'll be 3 years. And I've been entrepreneur in direct sales, network marketing, all kinds of things, made money, lost money for probably the last decade or so. And I'll kind of start this thing off by just saying that I truly believe that if you're selling insurance, there's no better place to sell than with Family First Life. I can say that confidently, that we have the best training, as well as we're going to give you a higher commission than you're going to be able to get anywhere else. And there are dozens and dozens of reasons why I believe if you're selling insurance, there's no better place to sell than with Family First Life. But I'll also go as far as to say that if you're selling, period, there's no reason why Family First Life shouldn't be a part of your tool belt. It shouldn't be a part of what you do. You know, real estate agents getting their license part-time on the side, solar people getting their license part-time on the side, pest control, digital marketing, whatever it is that you're doing, getting your license on the side, trying this out, realizing how lucrative it is. And I can give you dozens and dozens of stories of people who said, hey, I got paid faster. Hey, I actually had fun doing what I was doing. I'm going to do this full time. So if you're selling, period, I believe that Family First Life is the best place that you can go out and sell. And I can say that with confidence, just based on the fact that, it's changed my life, coming from a couple of those different industries. So the number one thing, I think when it comes to the basics, it really is your mindset. We're going to talk obviously about some of like the scheduling. We're going to talk about, hey, buy leads, dial the phone, do the appointments. Like we're of course going to talk about that stuff, but the belief is probably the most important thing, the mindset in which you come into this, because I'm taking the stance after being in this for 3 years that a bad attitude, you shouldn't be in the sales industry, period, let alone Family First Life. A bad attitude will get you out of this business so quickly, it's not even funny. So when we're talking about belief and confidence, we need to talk about how to build confidence. And a lot of people have heard this before, but when it comes to going out and building confidence, we can do it 3 different ways. Number 1 is through your understanding. Number 2 is through your skills. And number 3 is through your programming. Okay. So understanding, again, that's why I kind of talked about the different industries here, but understanding that we're in one of the most profitable industries on the planet, financial services. There's this quote that talks about the most millionaires created next to professional athletics. And it's financial services, and life insurance sales falls under financial services. So the most profitable sales industry on the planet next to professional athletics. So understanding that you're in the right industry, then understanding being in the right company. Family First Life did over 800 million in paid business last year. Our competitors, who allegedly compete with us, the next closest one, did probably 10 times less. When we talk to companies like Mutual of Omaha, one of our huge carriers within our brokerage, they say that if you were to take Family First Life and split it up into 3 separate companies, we'd still be number 1, 2, and 3 in terms of how much we sell of Mutual of Omaha. So just understanding that we're in a great company that brings a lot of business to these insurance carriers. So we have a lot of leverage when it comes to giving the best commission to our agents. So understanding you're with a great company with a great track record that has the ability to take care of you as an agent and give you the most support and resources and training available. And if you have that understanding, that should give you confidence, and that should increase your belief in what it is that you're doing. Number 2, we talked about your skills, getting better every day. Well, I think we can all agree that if you get better at this, if you improve, your skill set, then obviously your confidence is going to go up. Somebody who's brand new in this business, they don't have a very good skill set. Therefore, it makes sense that they don't have a lot of confidence. And we were just on live dials here a few minutes ago before this, and someone got on the phone with what I would, consider a more difficult client, and they were trying to book this person, and they, the client ended up winning. They ended up hanging up. But the one thing I appreciated about this person was their persistence to stay on the phone. They didn't just take no for an answer. They're a brand new agent. They're on their 9th dial. That's what they said. It was their first time unmuting, ninth dial, and it didn't matter what this lady said. It was like, yep, but here's who I am and here's what I'm going to do. And it just, she ended up hanging up, but his persistence was inspiring. And I told him, hey, the skills can be built. Like the mindset there of you decided, I'm not going to be a deer in the headlights when the client says no. I'm not going to be a dog with my tail between my legs. I'm going to keep moving forward no matter what the person says, and I'm going to get them to hang up on me. I'm like, the skill set of what to say is going to come. It's going to. You do this over and over and over again, the repetition, the skills can be built. The skills can be taught. But the mindset takes years to develop. Like, I don't believe everyone's born with the mindset. I believe some people, just what they've been through in their life, they have that kind of mindset. Being in sales for 10 years, you're going to develop that mindset. You don't care about rejection, but there's people who come from, whatever background it is, and they've never dealt with rejection. So then they don't have that mindset coming into this. And then they easily become that deer in the headlights. They easily become that dog with their tail between their legs. And that confidence that makes it so you're not that person, if you don't already have the mindset built up, comes from repetition. That mindset can be built by improving the skills, dialing the phone over and over and over and over again, going through that rejection and realizing that's not the leads. It's your ability to make that lead comfortable with you enough to stay on the phone and do business with you. Because at one point in time, whether this was brand new, this was 6 months old, a year old, 3 months old, 3 days old, doesn't matter. They raised their hand with some level of interest in life insurance. And whenever somebody hangs up on me, my first thought is not, man, that lead, they didn't fill it out, or that lead sucked. My thought is, man, who do I know that probably could have got that person to stay on the phone? Like, could Sean Mike have got that person to stay on the phone? Could Josh Lockhart have got that person to stay on the phone? Could Sean Simpson have got that person to stay on the phone? It's not the lead, it was me. Like, what do I have to do to get better to take that person from perceivably not interested to interested? Like, that's the skill set. So it's doing it over and over again. And if you improve the skills, the confidence obviously goes up, the belief goes up too. And then lastly, we talked about already, basically through this whole thing is the programming, just your mindset going into it. Negative mindset, you're going to have a bad time here. That voice inside your head that has those questions, like, is it the leads or is it me? If they're leaning more towards like, I'm going to blame everything else instead of blaming myself and learning how to get better, that's going to be an issue. So my main thing here, guys, is we're going to talk about developing the confidence, and we're going to talk about what are those basics that you have to do over and over and over again. So we're going to talk a little bit about leads here. So whether it's, you get the $2 leads, or you get the $80 leads, or the $10 leads, or the $25 leads, it doesn't really matter. A lead is a lead is a lead is a lead. Now, here's kind of my philosophy as I've seen things play out. The money that you spend on leads for what is considered a more expensive lead, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get more appointments. In my personal opinion, it just means that you're going to spend a little bit less time dialing. But also it comes down to the skill set, because if you get 10 $80 leads and you're not very good, you're probably still only going to book 1 out of 10 or 0 out of 10. But if you have 100 leads and they're all $2 or $3, you have more opportunity to fail. You have more swings versus I need to be perfect when I have the really expensive leads. So I look at it and I say, okay, if I spend about $1,000 in leads, this is just my personal thing, I think that I should be able to book anywhere between 10 to 20 appointments. That's just my personal philosophy. If I spend $1,000 on brand new internet leads that are $11 a piece, I think I can book about 15 to 20 appointments ultimately, maybe not in one dial day, but off of that list, I can book 15 to 20 appointments. If I spend $1,000 on Facebook final expense leads that are $25 a piece, I'll get about 40. I think over time, I can book about 15 to 20 of those. If I get 20 $80 leads, I think I can book about 15 appointments off of that. But it comes with the skill set. So when it comes to leads, it doesn't really matter what leads that you have. It just matters that you have leads in front of you. Now, somebody who has $200 50-cent leads, you have to understand that you're going to be dialing those much longer. You're going to have a much longer dial day than somebody who has $20 $80 leads. That's just all it is. So when you have the skill set, you could give, Sean Simpson, $200 leads. And yeah, it's going to be a longer dial day, but he's going to figure it out. He's going to pull it out and he's going to find what's left in those leads. He's going to, find the interested parties or the ones who are looked over. And he's going to find that. So when it comes to leads, all that matters is that you have some. You have some and you're always dialing. Now, we'll kind of break down the different types of leads here in a moment, but getting good at buying leads is a skill. Consistently having leads is a skill. You get your first 100 leads and, obviously one of the number one basics is going to be whatever you spent, we need to make sure that we make back the money that you spent. That's number one. This is going to be our barometer of really if the insurance industry and the grit that is needed for you to succeed here, if the insurance industry is going to be a good fit for you. If I spend $500 or $1,000 on leads and I get 50, 100, 150, 200 names, depending on the type of lead that I buy, if I'm not able to help one or two families out of a batch of 50 to 200, like I should maybe be questioning my work ethic in regards to how hard I actually dial the leads, or I should be questioning, is selling insurance going to be the right fit for me long term? Because out of that many names and phone numbers, we should be able to find somebody who is interested in insurance. And these are people who already raised their hands saying they were interested. So now it's, can you make the client comfortable with you enough to do business with you? So it doesn't matter the lead type. It really just matters, are you willing to work the leads? So we'll come back to that a little bit. I think that where most agents go wrong is they can't sit down in a chair and just do the work. They can't sit down and dial and protect their dial time and focus. It's one of the hardest things for new agents to do. It was one of the hardest things for me to do when I was brand new, was just sit down and dial. Last week, Josh talked about, scheduling your success. Okay. So what does that mean? That means if I'm brand new and I say, I'm going to start dialing at 8, does that mean I'm waking up at 8? Or does it mean that I'm dialing at 8? Does it mean that I'm getting into my office at 8? Or does it mean I'm getting into my office at 7 and I'm making sure my spreadsheets, my phone burn, like I'm prepared to press the green button at 8? And I'm not saying you have to dial at 8. I'm just telling you that the most successful people start dialing at 8 or earlier. I'm not telling you have to. I'm just telling you the most successful people do. So why wouldn't you want to do what the most successful people do? Because if I'm dialing from 8 to 10 o'clock, we're talking 8 to 10 a.m., I could maybe come out with 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 appointments in 2 hours, maybe more, maybe less. And then somebody else is coming in at 10, and I've already got 7 appointments, and they're just getting started. And like that 8 to 10, and then also like 5 to 8 o'clock at night, like those are like the golden hours to dial. Like in the middle of the workday from 10 a.m. to like 4 p.m., most people are working, they're running errands. Like 8 to 10 retired people, they're like getting up, getting around, getting breakfast, getting ready to go to their doctor's appointments. 5 to 8, people are sitting down for dinner, chilling on the couch, watching TV. Like they're at home, actually able to take a phone call. And like a lot of people, they just want to dial in the middle of the day because they want to like go to the gym for 2 hours or whatever they want to do in the morning, or just like sleep in. And they're missing out on that prime dial time in the morning and in the evening. And if you ask the top producers what they're doing, if they don't have their appointments, they're dialing between 5 and 8 because they know that's the absolute best time to dial. But they don't want to be dialing between 5 and 8. They prefer to have dialed early and got it done so that the rest of their day they can work on other things. But they know that if they don't get it done, that's the perfect time for them to finish up, for them to clean up and fill in the rest of their schedule. So protecting your dial time is important. But then it's like also, if I sit down, at 8 a.m., do I sit down and dial, 5 times and then get up and do something else? Like, do I have my computer open? Am I scrolling through Facebook while I'm listening to the dial tone? Like, what am I doing? How am I protecting my dial time? Am I allowing, every little wind to kind of blow me to and fro like a leaf, or am I like rock solid? Like I'm going to sit here and I'm going to get this done. That's like such a big deal. And I think one of the things that a lot of agents struggle with is they can't just sit in the chair. It's not sexy sitting in a chair and dialing the phone. It's not at all. However, the results of when you book 12, 13, 14, 15, 20 appointments, and then these are 15 appointments that have raised their hand looking for insurance. And as long as you don't overquote them, meaning making it too expensive or make them uncomfortable, by 30 to 50% of them are going to buy no matter what. If you have 15 to 20 appointments, as long as you don't make them uncomfortable, you don't do something to make them feel weird, like, then at the end of the day, they're gonna buy from you. Like, that's the sexy part. And that's $1,000 a commission on average. So sitting in a chair is not sexy, but having 15 appointments and knowing that I'm going to close 6, like, that's sexy. I love that. I just said sexy more times than I've ever said it in my life in like 3 sentences. So I apologize for that. But at the end of the day, like, those are the results that are worth having. But like, it comes from the mundane, what most people would consider boring. But then I learned that, and I'm going to do that over and over and over again because you get addicted to the result. Like, you know, I used to party back when I was in college. Like, I don't do that anymore. Like, I have nothing to do with that. But like, what is partying? Like, you're chasing a dopamine rush. You're just like, you're doing something to like chase dopamine. Like, what's my dopamine rush now? It's helping families. There's no better rush, in my personal opinion, other than like seeing your child born or like marrying your spouse, than helping someone with insurance and getting instant approval and getting paid within 48 hours. Like, that is one of the most insane dopamine rushes I've ever felt, when you get paid more on one policy than you've sometimes ever made in a week working. And you did it selling something that you actually know that they need, and you can feel really, really good about it because you're actually helping them. And you know, you help them make a good financial decision. Like, that's an amazing dopamine rush. So like, for me, I was just in San Antonio for 4 days. I was holding the baby for like the entire time so my wife could take notes and do her thing, you know, at her conference. I feel like a crack addict who hasn't had his crack, and like, I'm ready to sell and help families again. You know, like, I'm chasing that dopamine, but at least it's a good dopamine that's going to obviously help serve people and serve my family in return. You know, so it's a fun thing to get addicted to, because you can actually like really help yourself financially, and help your family and help their families financially, by disciplining yourself enough to like actually starting to enjoy the work. So can you learn to like enjoy the dial time? That's the hard part. And how do you learn to enjoy the dial time? By getting good at it. It's not an enjoyable thing when you're doing a mundane thing that you suck at. That's not enjoyable. To sit there and get your butt kicked 12 hours a day, that's not fun. I'd probably quit 2-3 weeks getting my butt kicked 12 hours a day. But if you get better and you start to, you know, take the rejection and start to have fun with it, and start, you know, getting a little bit more, you know, witty with your comebacks on the phone, and like kind of laughing as a client says crazy things, because our clients say crazy things. And you start to, you know, take an objection, instead of taking it personal, you just kind of swat it away, and then you keep moving. You don't be the deer in the headlights or the dog with the tail between the legs. You just like, you keep moving forward no matter what they say. You start to have fun, and it starts to be a little bit more enjoyable. You wake up and you're like, what batshit crazy thing is a client going to say to me today? And what am I going to say back? And how I'm going to call Josh later and be like, hey, you won't believe what this client said to me today. I just had an 82-year-old dude who had $1 million reverse mortgage. I didn't even know what to do with that. And for some of y'all, I don't even know what that means. 82-year-old guy with $1 million reverse mortgage that only made $1,000 a month. And he wanted a lot of coverage for very little money. And he only made $1,000 a month, and it was crazy. And then he ended up hanging up on me. But it's like, I'm laughing about it because I'm like looking at that, like, what am I supposed to even do with that lead? But then you move on, you laugh about it. So you learn to have fun with it. That's a big thing here. You know, you have to learn to have fun with it. And one of the best ways to have fun with something is when you're getting better, when you're actually good at it. So getting feedback, getting better on a daily basis, asking for someone to help you, you know, getting on live dials and unmuting. You know, I really, you know, appreciate when somebody gets out of their comfort zone and they do that, because it's just going to help you get better by leaps and bounds. And you're going to springboard over everybody else who's sitting there hiding behind their camera and hiding behind their mute button. So live dials, getting on muting, it'll change everything for you. I know what it's done for me. I didn't consider myself good on the phones before I started doing live dialing. We had Kasha speak at our Charlotte conference about what live dials did for her, and it gave her confidence and it made it fun so that it wasn't such a mundane task. If she hadn't started unmuting a year ago, I don't know if she'd still be here, to be totally honest. And building relationships with people online, all those things, like, I don't know, but it'll be the reason that you're here, a year from now, if you get better. All right. So that's that. So a couple other things, and we're going to keep it moving here. We talk about the phone script. I'm not going to break down the phone script super deep here. Just understanding that no matter whose phone script you follow, you can listen to me, you can listen to, some old school Andrew Taylor. You could listen to, Nina Damjanovic, on how to dial internet leads, like whatever. Like, there are so many phone scripts out there, and whether it's booking a telesale or it's booking an in-home, you're going to realize that there are some very basic principles that we follow. And it doesn't really matter whose phone script you say. It's having a script in front of you that you're confident saying and following some specific principles and understanding the psychology of the sale. If you guys have been through our boot camp, you'll know what that means. Psychology of the sale. Sean Mike talks about the psychology of a lead. Someone who filled it out, raised their hand. We're looking for this information. So we'll kind of talk about the psychology behind the different types of leads that we have. So there's three main types of leads. There's an internet lead, which is somebody who went online, probably on Google, and typed in life insurance quote. I'm looking for whatever they typed in. They typed in a search engine. Then there's a Facebook or a Google or a YouTube, type ad, which is, I consider that more like a billboard. I wasn't looking for it. I was watching a video with my son, on puppies. And, now 20 minutes in, I'm getting advertised for life insurance, like a billboard. Or I'm scrolling through Facebook, looking for whatever I'm looking at, scrolling to pass the time, and boom, hey, if you're 50 to 85, you might qualify for final expenses. It's like a billboard. I wasn't necessarily looking for it, but I might fall into the category of I'm interested, and I might click on it. And then you've got a direct mail lead, which literally is a piece of paper that came into your mailbox that you tore off. You said, that sounds interesting. You filled it out, and you either went to the post office and dropped it in a box, or you put it in your mailbox and flipped up the flag, which I've never flipped up the flag on my mailbox ever once in my entire life. So if you do that, you must be pretty interested in insurance. So you have to understand the psychology behind how these leads are generated. So I'll kind of go backwards. I'll start with direct mail. So direct mail, that person filled out a physical postcard and they sent it in. There's a reason why that lead costs $60, $80, $90, because of the level of intent. Also the level of income. Somebody who filled out a mortgage mailer, they have guaranteed income, whether it's retirement income or a salary. They have something. So there's a reason why that lead is the most expensive of all the leads. They said, that sounds great. But the other thing is, just know the direct mail lead wasn't necessarily looking for insurance. They just bought a house and they got bombarded with 25 postcards, and they said, probably should send one of these in. They weren't looking for it. They made a decision based on what was put in front of them. Then you've got a Facebook final expense lead, let's say. They also were not looking for insurance. They were scrolling through Facebook, and they happened to fall into the demographic of 50 to 85. And they said, that sounds like a pretty good idea. Let's get some information on that. My favorite hobby is knitting. My favorite hobby is watching TV. They put it in, you get that lead. They also were not looking for it. But then you have the person with internet lead, which is our most popular lead, probably the one that most people dial, whether it's brand new or 1 month, 2 month, 3 months old. This is the only lead that we have that was actively looking for life insurance. And that's why it's the most competitive. That's why there's the most people calling them, or were calling them when it was brand new, because they were actually actively looking for it. So a direct mail lead, a Facebook final expense lead, they're a little bit less competitive. Whereas an internet lead, you go to type in life insurance quote, you can't find a life insurance quote anywhere. All you can do is fill out a form. So they fill out our form, they fill out 6 other forms trying to find a life insurance quote. Can't find it. So what happens? They start getting phone calls from all over the country. Telemarketers, independent agents just like you, call centers. You're trying to compete with every single one of those people. So if you're buying $9 and $11 leads, understand the psychology behind what is the client on your side experiencing. Okay. And I think that's important no matter what lead that we dial. So if we're dialing brand new internet leads, we know that their phone's blowing up. If we're dialing 1 month or 3 month old internet leads, we know their phone was blowing up. Not now, but it was. So we're going to make sure we mention that when we call, so we bring it back to the top of their mind and we build trust. The reason that we have the favorite hobby on the Facebook final expense lead is, again, it's the psychology behind it. Hey, it's the one you filled out that said that your favorite hobby was, watching TV. And they're like, oh yeah, I remember that. The direct mail lead. Hey, you sent that postcard into our office looking for more information on XYZ. Is that what you were looking for, or something different? Like we're going back to the customer experience of what they did. This is, free nugget right here. If anyone's ever dialed a mortgage call-in lead, if you try to dial a mortgage call-in lead and you say, hey, that postcard you filled out, they'll hang up on you because they didn't fill out the postcard. They received a postcard that had a phone number on it and they called it. Hey, Sean, it's about, you received all those postcards. I'm sure it was super annoying, but there was one with the 1-800 phone number on it. I think it was pink or yellow. You called in looking for more information. Like the psychology is I'm like following the customer along with like what they experience filling out the lead. So if it's mortgage protection, I'm talking about them, filling out the postcard, put it back in the mailbox, sending it in to me. If it's call in, I'm talking about them calling the phone number on the piece of paper. If it's a Facebook final expense lead, I'm, hey, Sean, you were scrolling on Facebook. You saw that thing, put down your favorite hobby was basketball. It's an internet lead. Hey, you filled this out. You're looking for something. Then your phone started blowing up. Hey, about a month ago, you were looking for insurance. Then your phone started blowing up. 3 months ago, you were looking for something. Your phone started blowing up. Like I'm bringing it back to what the customer was experiencing when they filled it out, because I'm trying to build trust. I'm also trying to be like the anti-telemarketer, trying to be the anti-salesperson. Okay. So it doesn't really matter what your script is, but like if you know all of this ahead of time going into it, you can sometimes like be able to like stop a customer with a bad attitude before they have it. Like you can bring down their walls before they put them up because you bring up the obvious. Like you bring up the elephant in the room. Like I just, follow a normal script of, hey, this is Jamie. I'm getting back with you about the life insurance request you sent in for Lynn County. You're going to get 500 different responses. Yep, that's exactly. Yep, I was waiting for your call. Nope, not interested. Click. Who are you? What's this about? Like you're going to get every response in the book, and it's going to require you to be pretty quick on the phones to be able to like backtrack and be like, nope, real quick. I'm not telling market. Here's what it puts you in defense mode. So like, I think the best defense is a good offense. I just come in and I'm just going to tell you right away. I'm just going to put that elephant out in the room immediately to try to bring their walls down in the first 3 sentences. So again, like you can take that for what you will. Like that's not something that I can just give you the perfect 3-sentence opener for every single lead, but it's all about like, if you know that ahead of time, what the client's experiencing, you can somehow come ahead of those objections immediately. Someone's about to be like, click, I'm not interested. But then you go, hey, this is Jamie getting back with you. Hey, about a month ago when you filled out that request for life insurance, your phone started blowing up with telemarketers. They're like, yeah, my phone did blow up. Hey, I'm just the manager calling to apologize that you got so many phone calls, but I'm showing here in my system, no one actually ended up helping you out. So, I'm just calling to get that information out to you. It's about a 5 or 10 minute phone call. And it's like, when you do something like that, if you've ever been in the home and you watched a client go from like arms crossed to like the uncrossed, like you can kind of feel that over the phone. So it's like learning that skill right there to like metaphorically take a customer from arms crossed to uncrossed, whether you're in person or over the phone, like that's the skill right there. You keep them on the phone past the first 3 sentences. Like if you can learn to keep them on the phone past the first 3 sentences of, hey, here's who I am, here's why I'm calling, here's what you did. Is that what you were looking for or something different? You can get them to give you that first yes, like you're in control. And now it's just about not losing control. So again, like you don't have to have the perfect script, but you do have to develop confidence in those first couple sentences to keep people on the phone. Because I bet you if I just had to take a random poll of people inside of our industry, not just in FFL, and where they get hung up on, people who struggle to book appointments. If I go, are you getting hung up on the beginning, the middle, or the end of the phone call? I guarantee vast majority of people get hung up on in the beginning of the phone call. The beginning. So it's like some people are worried about like, well, how do I do X, Y, Z? And I'm like, well, dude, no one's even staying on the phone with you. You don't even need to worry about that. You need to worry about how to keep people on the phone first. Because like you can break down just about anything in this business. That's where like when you start to learn the basics, you can kind of zoom out and you can see this from 10,000 feet and you can diagnose where somebody's going wrong. You go, hey, Jamie, nobody's answering my phone calls. I'm just hearing the dial tone all day long. Okay. Is your phone being marked as spam? Oh, maybe. Okay, let's try to get you a new phone number. Let's see what happens. Let's see if that changes anything. Okay, that's number one. How many times have you dialed the phone? Well, I've only dialed the phone like 25 times. Okay, well, call me back after you dial the phone 300 times. Let's see if your numbers have changed. Okay, well, I dialed the phone 300 times and some people answered. Well, how many people answered? Well, I dialed 100 leads 3 times each, so 300 dials, and 30 people answered. Okay, well, those numbers are actually really good. 30% of the people answered. And when did they hang up? They hang up in the beginning, the middle, or the end of the phone call. Well, they all hung up in the beginning. Okay, you suck at the open. Like, let's fix that. They hung up in the middle. Okay, you're probably talking way too much. You're probably trying to sell them. You're answering questions. Like, you're doing all the things. You're not booking the appointment, or you're not getting to the point. Or they hung up at the end, or, okay, whatever, something happened. Like, we can figure that out. But where, like all of these things can all be diagnosed. Okay, so I ended up booking 15 appointments, Jamie, but everybody no-showed me. Okay, well, there's obviously something going on in your tie down. There's something going on in your confirming of the schedule. There's something going on in clearing the schedule. Like, we can fix that. Okay, I booked 15 appointments. Everybody showed, almost everybody showed, but I'm not selling anything. Okay, now we can actually focus on working on your in-home presentation. Like, now we can focus on that. But it's like there's people who they're getting hung up on by every lead in the first 3 sentences. And they're like, Jamie, let's talk about my in-home and how I can close better. Like, we don't need to worry about how you can close better, because really with leads, people who raise their hand looking for insurance, everybody should be helping 2 or 3 out of 10 families if you do a full presentation. If you do a full presentation, they were looking for insurance from top to bottom. You showed them the prices. You gave them a chance to say yes or no. Everybody should be helping 2 or 3 out of 10 families, unless you're doing something really weird. A lot of us, we're not getting to that point. We're not getting to the end of the presentation for a handful of reasons. So if you're not getting past the first 3 sentences, we shouldn't be working on your closing techniques. We should be working on keeping people on the phone and doing that over and over and over again, like one step at a time. But like, you can figure this stuff out after doing this over and over and over again. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. So at the end of the day, like, getting good on the phones, it's just confidence. That's all it is. It's confidence in doing it over and over and over and over again. Even if you didn't follow a script, eventually, if you dialed the phone 10,000 times, you'd probably come up with a script. You'd probably start getting pissed off that people are hanging up on you. You'd probably figure it out. Obviously, with a script, the script is just there as a guide of things that other people have done before you to prove that it works. And they say, hey, this is what we figured out that kind of works for us. Here's the psychology that we figured out. If you literally did it by yourself, but you had enough tenacity to dial the phone 10,000 times, I bet you'd figure it out and you'd start booking 15 to 20 appointments just by trial and error, because you get so sick of people telling you no and hanging up. You'd figure out what to do, and you get more confident with every single dial if you actually were willing to dial the phone that many times. So now imagine dialing the phone 10,000 times and actually having a script and actually having rebuttals and actually having people to give you feedback. Like, you could get better in 1,000 dials. You don't have to dial the phone 10,000 times. You could get better within your first dial day or 2 dial days. And then what ends up happening is, let's say you're brand new, you get your butt kicked. Then you go out and you help your first family. What happens? You get that dopamine rush. And you're like a crack addict and you get addicted to it. So then you're like, I'm willing to go do the mundane tasks again to be able to feel that feeling of helping another family. And then it gets easier. It becomes more fun. It's now I'm just going to do it over and over and over again. I'm kind of chasing that rush of helping a family. Does that make sense? So we're doing it over and over and over again. We're developing the skill set and we're getting better and better and better. So really, there's not that many basics in this business. We have leads to dial. We dial them enough times. We're able to keep people on the phone past the first 3 sentences and take control. ask them questions, confirm some information, confirm why they were looking for the insurance, book an appointment or start an appointment right there. It's really, really simple, basic stuff, but most people fail because they're not willing to put in the work and the numbers and the sitting in the chair part. It's not really like the I have the perfect script part. It's like the tenacity of I'm going to sit down and do this over and over and over again. That's where most people are going to fail here, guys. So buying leads, the mindset, dialing the phone, practicing your script, all those things. Then obviously it comes, the presentation. Well, if you understand the presentation, like the basics on a presentation, doesn't matter whether you're in the home or you're doing it over the phone, is I need to basically give you my credibility and I need to tell you what we're going to do today. I need to get control and be the leader and say, here's who I am. Here's my credibility. Here's what we're going to do today. Now, obviously we say that in a few more words. I'll give you guys an example. Hey Josh, it's 5:30, time for our appointment here today. You had said it with me about the mortgage protection. I had sent you that text message over that had my state license and stuff. You were able to look at it, verify me. Okay, great. Again, I'm not the sales guy, just the underwriter. My job's just to help you figure out what you qualify for with the life insurance. Now, Josh, most people typically fill this out because they want to make sure if they pass away, they can leave some money behind for their family, leave a legacy, pay for debts, final expenses. That what you're looking for? Yep. Okay, great. All right. Hey, again, I am a broker, so I do work with all the insurance companies. We're going to shop around today. So, don't need to talk to a million other people. We're going to get you some options today. I am also an underwriter. So we're going to ask you about 2 minutes of questions on your health, about a minute on your finance. Based on how you answer those questions, I'll make a recommendation. I'll show you a few options. And if we see something that makes sense, we're going to submit a request for coverage. Does that make sense? Yep. Okay, perfect. So again, like you guys are going to figure out your own flow, but the confidence in setting the table. Hey, here's who I am. Here's my credibility. Hey, we're not going to shop around because I'm a broker. I am the underwriter. So I'm going to ask you the questions. And after I ask you the questions, I'm going to make the professional recommendation because I'm the professional. And then we're going to submit a request for coverage because that's what we do. People who fill out requests for insurance, we have to submit a request for coverage to find out if you can qualify. And hey, does that make sense? Do you want to proceed? Yes, they've agreed to the process. Now there's a handful of other things that you're going to do at telesales or in the home to pre-prep them for bank info, social security, all those things. You guys can learn that in some other trainings. But at the end of the day, it's that confidence. It's the confidence of I'm going to lead you through this. So same thing on the phones. I'm going to lead you through this. Like you can have confidence in me. So like confidence and belief is everything. We come back to that beginning where we talked about, belief in the industry, belief in this company, belief in yourself, the skill set, doing it over and over again and having the programming, like all of that is going to feed into your confidence. And guess what? That's all going to come through over the phone or in person. And if the client's going to feel confident in you, like you don't have to know everything to be able to help a client. Just by knowing you're in the right place, the right time with the right people, in the right opportunity with the best training, like that should give you confidence that you can talk to this client and help them with insurance. And that'll come through. If you're nervous, they will feel it. They will 100% feel it. So at the end of the day, nervousness comes through and clients, gets kind of sketched out if you're nervous asking for their social security number, if they get nervous when you're asking for their bank info, all of those things. So we obviously, again, we learn the basics, we do them over and over and over again. And that's what's going to give you the confidence. And you're going to understand that after 100 appointments, you'll have seen everything you could possibly see. After 100 appointments, you will literally have seen everything you can see. And you should have the confidence to be able to move from the dependent stage, meaning dependent on someone else to tell you what to do, to the independent stage where you can independently help families with life insurance. And if you never talk to a manager again, if you're in the independent stage, you can go out and you can make a living without ever talking to anybody again. And you can make a really, really good living. We want to move you from the dependent to the independent stage as soon as possible. And then by doing this over and over again, becoming a master of the basics, what happens? You learn to teach the basics. When you become, in the beginning, you're learning. Then you become independent. You've learned, and now you're maybe starting to teach, and you maybe have a small team, And then you get to the dependent on stage where you're not just, teaching, you're teaching people how to teach. And, that's where really like you really master the basics. And then like you're still doing it every single day. So important to take you from dependent to independent as soon as possible. We want to help you guys sell life insurance consistently every single week. One other resource I want to make sure that we mention here. So obviously every Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern, we have this call. And then Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, so it's a little bit later in the day, because we know people work and we know that this is a more interactive call. We have our Insurance 101 training with Sean Simpson, Hall of Fame producer. And we've had it for the last 2 weeks, incredible feedback. And obviously we're going to be having it again this Thursday as well, where not only you're going to get more basic training as a new agent for the things that are most important to help you succeed when you're brand new, but you're also going to get that live role play. So I gave you guys a little bit of one-sided role play there where I was answering for both me and Josh, but Sean does a really good job of bringing new agents on where he'll do a role play, then he'll bring a new agent on to do a role play, and he'll give him, a positive and negative, some piece of constructive criticism, which is, really good, to learn and get better. And you obviously can hear, where somebody's confident, where somebody's lacking. So in regards to getting really good fast, that's a great call to tune into, and not just tune into. If you choose to participate and be a part of one of those live role plays, man, the feedback we've been getting from people who've done that, they're getting their first sales. They're having that confidence because they have the frame of reference of it's not just this unknown thing. I'm gonna dial the phone and then what's going to happen? Then what do I say? Like they start to have a frame of reference of like what comes next. And again, that brings confidence. If you know what comes next and it's not unknown, and you'll have more confidence, talking to the client, which is obviously really good. So this is all great stuff. Last couple of things here. I'm just looking through some notes that I have that I wanted to cover. Man, sense of urgency. That's everything. 80-90%, I'm just making this statistic up, it's probably accurate. 80-90% of people are going to quit in their first 60 days if they haven't gotten results. You're going to quit in your first 60 days if you haven't gotten results. You need to help families with insurance or you're going to go out of business. We're investing money into leads, people who are raising their hand, and we want to get a return on our investment. Any business, we want a return on our investment. We have to treat this like a business. Okay. We have to treat this like a business if we want to get paid like a business. We have to treat this with a sense of urgency if we want to get paid quickly. I talked about 100 appointments. If you're brand new, are you going to run 100 appointments in your first 6 weeks? Are you going to run 100 appointments in 8 months? There's going to be a huge, huge difference in your learning curve. I remember it took me probably 8-9 weeks to run my first 100 appointments. I feel like I did pretty well. And I think my first month I submitted 19,000, my second month 22. And then we've got an agent, Peter Unger, who he ran 100 appointments in his first 4 weeks and he submitted 53 families in his first month. So like that learning curve is exponential because he was just getting the no's and the rejections and building the skill set and all that stuff faster and faster and faster. And he was able to just compound the learning over and over and over again and get to independent very fast. So like, what's your sense of urgency? How long do you want to be bad at this is a better way to put it. Because you're going to be bad at this. We were all bad at this. Every single one of us were bad at this. How long do you want to be bad at it? Do you want to be bad at it for a year? So if you're bad at it for a year, you will quit. Or you can get really, really good at this, be bad at it for 2 weeks and just get all the rejection out of the way up front. And then you'll be at the top of the leaderboard for the rest of your career just because you decided to get good at this quickly. Like, how long do you want to suffer? Like being bad at it, I saw this somewhere, like selling insurance can be the best sales gig on the planet, or it can be the worst. It can be the best or it can be the worst. And it's the worst when you suck at this. It really is. This is the absolute worst thing to do commission-wise if you don't get better. It's like slowly dying. So I would rather get good at this really fast, get all the rejection out of the way up front, so that I can get good at this and enjoy what I'm doing and actually have fun with it. Last thing I'll really say here, guys, is just developing a sense of resourcefulness. I think is going to be a really big thing. Deciding I'm going to find the information, I'm going to get better. We talked about moving from dependent to independent. Well, dependent says, hey, Sean, where do I find this? Where do I find that? Hey, what's this answer? And that's okay. In the beginning, you should be asking questions and we want to direct you. But someone who's hungry to move from dependent to independent, they're going to find the information no matter what. They're going to look for a video. They're going to find it on the website. They're going to search out the information. They're going to figure it out no matter what. And having like the figure it out attitude is also really important when the time comes, and it will come, when you're in an in-home or you're on the phone and nobody answers your phone call, because it will happen. There's gonna be a time when you don't know how to answer an application question. There's gonna be a time where you don't know how to find the illustration tool or the quote tool. There's gonna be a time where you don't know where to find your login, and you're gonna have to figure it out. And you have to figure it out in a way where you're still remaining confident with your client and not showing that you're panicking. You know, I had made an Instagram reel a couple of weeks ago where I said, you got to be like a duck. You got to be calm on the surface, but under the water, you got to paddle like hell. You got to be the duck for your client. Calm on the surface. You have no idea where your login is for Americo. Like, that's okay. Calm on the surface. Hey, no problem. You're talking to the client. You make it happen. You figure it out. You're texting your manager on the side while you're low key freaking out inside because you don't know what to do. Calm on the surface, but under the water, you're paddling like hell. Like, that's important. And then this resourcefulness is, you know, you're using the tools that are available and you're learning to move from dependent to independent because you want to be an independent insurance producer. Like, that's where the freedom comes in this business. Like, you don't want to be dependent on your manager forever. So get good quickly, get through all of the dependency quickly so that you can become independent. Then you can basically write your own paycheck. So we don't want y'all to, you know, try to go out there and recreate the wheel, try to recreate the system. There are other people out there who have done it over and over and over again before you. And again, there might be some specific different word tracks that are used, but people who are successful here, they're following the same principles. They're following the same basics. They always have leads. They have a good mindset when they're dialing the phone. They're confident in what we do and why we do it. And that comes through to the clients, and it gives the clients confidence in us. And we're able to lead, guide, and direct the client to help their family with a great decision, which is buying life insurance. They asked for it. We're not convincing them that they need it. They asked for it. Our job is to fulfill their order, not make it weird, not overprice them, and help find a solution. Like, we are solution-oriented problem solvers. That's what we do. We sell insurance, and you can have confidence that this is a great career if you really decide to work it hard and you're willing to continuously get better. So that's all I got. Hopefully that gave you guys a few nuggets here. We're going to go ahead and get back to live dials. We got people on here who've got some appointments this evening. I appreciate every single one of y'all who tuned in. Again, Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Mountain, 6 p.m. Pacific. Insurance 101 with Sean Simpson. We will see you again on a Thursday, and otherwise we will be here on live dials. So I appreciate y'all. Everybody have an amazing night, and we'll talk to you soon. See you guys.